Let's play some hockey. Tonight. Energetic, passionate, and savvy. Gouche Live. Brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Gouche.
It is time for more Gouche. Gouche right here in Melbourne, Australia. This is brought to you by the good people at the Hockey News and, of course, Sports Illustrated is involved. And you know what? Those good people at the bottom line, you see it right up top. This is not the bottom line. I am not in the bottom line. I am at a beautiful hotel called the Quest Flemington, having a great time down under. Lots of great things going on. But you don't want to hear about my little stuff on here in Australia. You want to hear about the Super Bowl. How great was that? That was one of the best Super Bowls. I had a glass of wine by 9:30. I was eating a hot dog and a hamburger, and it was a chili dog, not just a hot dog. These people are crazy here. And 90% of that people in that room could care about the football. They were waiting for Rihanna. Like, unbelievable. And then it was like they interrupted the Rihanna concert for a football game, and it was absolutely spectacular. Hey, he didn't come here to talk about football. He came to talk about hockey, and I'll tell you what, nobody does it better than this guy, my producer, Jordan LaRoche.
Hey, Gooch, I'm always down to talk some football if you ever want to have a little go at it.
One day we'll get going on it, but listen, we'll talk about the Super Bowl just for a second. The only other Super Bowl that I can remember that had me really involved, like heavily involved, was the one where Brady came back and I think they were down 4 touchdowns or something like that. And he came back to win it.
28-3.
Yeah, that could have been one of the epic Super Bowls. This one's going to go down as one of the most entertaining ones.
Yeah, and I mean, going into this game, going into the season, we didn't really have a lot of expectations for Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts just blew every single one of them out of the water. And for a guy in his second full year as a starter to make it to the Super Bowl, this guy is just going to be a stud for a really long time. And obviously Patrick Mahomes on the other side, 5 years in the NFL, 5 conference championship games, and 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 MVPs. I mean, the sport of football is just going through a huge renaissance right now, and it's going to be led by 2. Those are probably 2 of the 5-6 guys that are going to really lead the charge of the NFL.
Well, I'll tell you what, too. Hertz looked unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like he would have been MVP had Philly won it. But in the turning point, if you could even think about a turning point in that game, there's a couple of things. I thought Philadelphia was playing better most of the time, and it was that I think it was the punt return. It just completely took out the wind of all of you could see that momentum change. And then when Mahomes went down and it looked like he was down and out, limping off, everybody and I'll tell you what, gutsy performance. Really tough to be a quarterback when you're obviously having an ankle injury like that. But also he gutted out one of those runs. I think he got 27 yards on that particular run. That was huge, a huge momentum change. Here down in Australia, everybody was rooting for the 2 Australians to be the first to win a Super Bowl. I was actually moving towards Philadelphia, but I was one of that 1A, 1B, my story. I love Mahomes. The guy's everything you want. Your dad pops in. Mahomes is better athlete than Brady. Let's see how clutch he is over his career. I don't know. You know what? You can't discount what Brady's done. You know what? We're going to have Jimmy come up. Jimmy the man is with us. He'll talk to us a little bit about that comment in a second. But I did want to say in the ending, as I mentioned, down here in Australia, it's been plastered everywhere about the pregnancy. Like somebody just won a Super Bowl and all we're worried about is her rubbing her belly. Like, I just don't get it. And it is true. I'm sitting there with about 20 people and, great game, a couple good plays in the first quarter. And then one guy turns to me and says, "When's halftime?" I said, "Well, there's 3 minutes left." "Okay, good. I'm coming back. I'm going to go take a pee." I said, "Why?" He says, "I don't want to miss Rihanna."
I exactly experienced my girlfriend last night, so we're on the same boat there, Gooch.
Crazy. It's okay. It is 10 a.m. Here. Thank you, Sammy, for letting our buddy Robert Wine know. But now, ladies and gentlemen, every time this guy comes on, it's just It's all out entertainment, energizing. Here he is, all the way from Boston, James Murphy.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Jimmy. It's good
Good
to have
day,
you back.
Good day, mate.
Hey, good night, Mike. Hey, listen, you know what's funny? I went to a barbecue the other day.
A barbie?
This is a true story. And the guy says, we're having burgers or, I don't know, some lamb or something like that. I said, what about the shrimp? What do you mean? Shrimp on the barbie. Wow.
So that's actually true. They say that, Gooch.
Yeah, but they don't put shrimp on the barbie.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it's all like an exaggeration.
No, it's stupid. It's ridiculous. They put Vegemite on their bread. And then the guy says, I say to him, hey, he says, what do you want to drink? Fosters. He said, nobody in Australia drinks. The only way you get a Foster is to go to London, England. Nobody
that I
drinks
know,
Fosters.
Gooch.
And
So Gooch, I had a few friends, surfers. One of them was from Canada originally, but then, kind of raised in LA. And then a buddy of mine from Arlington, Massachusetts, right outside where I grew up, outside of Boston. Both of those guys went to surf and just, do whatever, have a good time, spend a couple months in Australia, explore the world when we were young. And they came back and they're like, dude, you won't believe it. Like Foster's in Australia, it's like piss.
Yeah, it is.
Everybody hates it. It's piss beer.
Yeah.
Like if you say that, they look at you like, what are you moron? Now, it's going to kill me. I can't think of the name of it right now, Gooch, but you might be able to tell me because you're familiar with the place. Their main beer, what is it called? Like the one that everyone really likes?
Carlton.
Thank you. Thank you. No,
Carlton
there's another one.
Draft.
There's an Australian one, though. There's an Australian one that people like. It's going to kill me, man.
Well, Carlton is brewed here, actually.
Oh, it is? Okay. I thought that was.
There is, I know what you're talking about.
The
There's
2X beer, is it?
Which one?
What's that?
The 2X beer? I can't remember what the actual name is.
There
but
is
the
a
logo's like
2X beer,
2X.
yep.
Otters?
Something like that.
VB. There,
VB.
that pops in. Good job. VB's a big one, too.
VB, Victoria Bitters. Thank you. That's it, boys. That's the
Hey,
one.
you know what? It's crazy. We got to get John from Thailand to tell us what beers we're drinking.
That's brilliant. So when my
Australia.
buddy was there, he'd come back and he visited me at UMass, and I was still a student at UMass, and he came back with like a case of VB. And we loved him. We pounded it. It was great.
Yeah, well, I hear you can pound any type of beer. So
Yeah, well,
listen,
no,
I want to get
more of a wine
into
guy
the
these
Super
days,
Bowl.
please.
I want to get in the Super Bowl really quickly.
Yeah, let's do
You
it.
probably heard a little bit about me
Yeah,
being down here and going to a party, and at 9:30, I've already had 2 glasses of wine, and we were eating burgers, and they had actually chili dogs with cheese on it. What a breakfast!
Nice.
Breakfast for champions. And the room was buzzing, like it was a real big buzz in the room. I'd
that's
say there was
cool.
about 100 people in it. It was called AmCham, so they had a lot of American businesses there.
Gotcha.
But 90% of them were all Australian. So everybody was buzzing about halftime. Nobody really cared about the game.
Yeah.
And then the game actually interrupted the concert, and it ended up being a great game. So Johnny comes out and says, Mahomes is better than athlete than Brady. You know Brady better than anybody. Is John full of?
No, if that's what he's saying, if those are his words, are we talking athlete or is he the better quarterback? Because there's a difference there. If he's saying he's a better athlete, then Mahomes embarrasses Brady. I mean, Brady wasn't an athlete, guys. Let's face it. He was an awkward, out of shape white dude to just
He's
work
good.
his butt off, man. I mean, that's
He's
what he
good.
was. No, that's what he was. He was an awkward dude, but he was smart. He knew the game. He could read instincts. He could read plays. He had it. And Tom Brady was probably one of the smartest quarterbacks, if not the smartest to ever play the game, and if not the best to play the game. But I'm telling you, Mahomes is getting into that category right now, and he is a hell of an athlete. And I was saying to my girlfriend, Stephanie, as we were watching this last night, I mean, he played in your town, Gooch. You might be a little too young, Jordan, but Doug Flutie, Toronto Argonauts, right? Yeah. And I grew up in Boston, as you know, and my dad was a Boston College alum, and I went to all the BC football games from the time I was about maybe 8 years old to maybe 13, 14, 15. And like Doug Flutie was my idol because not only was he an amazing quarterback and he could scramble just like Mahomes, he was also the smallest guy in the team. So I always had an affection for those guys.
James.
I'm 5'6", man.
James, the Flutie flakes made him big.
Oh, in Buffalo. Yeah. But I'm telling you, of course, Miami. Come on, the Hail Mary in Miami, man.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But no, he reminds me a lot of Doug Flutie, the way his athleticism, the way he can scramble, and his creativity, and how he executes that. And look, I looked at Stephanie last night. We're watching this game, and I said at halftime, as we're winding down from the Rihanna halftime show, and I'd like to get into that, by the way. But I said, if he comes back in this game, the Eagles are effed. They're done. That's it.
You're right. Yeah,
they're done, because what are his teammates thinking when they see this guy and the pain he was in? Did you see him on the bench? How much pain he was in when that happened? And if you're his teammate and you see this guy saying, "I'm going, let's do it." What are you going to do? Dude, you play professional hockey. You know what it's like. Absolutely. When a guy goes all in for the team like that, and he's willing to sacrifice, and he's in a lot of pain, that motivates you to take it to a next level. And I knew the Eagles were screwed at that point, and that was that. Well, and he came in, and he was amazing.
Yeah, I can only tell you,
I lost $100. I had the Eagles, so but I'm man enough to admit that, man, Mahomes is amazing, and he is getting in that category.
All right, just before we get into Rihanna, I know Jordan, I know you got a question for James about this, but I just want to make two really quick points. One is, I played with a guy named Mark McKay. Exactly that. He would play with a broken leg, and then everybody around him just elevated his game. As did I. I just thought, wow, if he's going to gut it out. But I did want to ask you, both of you, this question. I didn't know much about Hurts. I know that he was a good quarterback, but man, as he put himself on another level just from that performance.
What an athlete, eh?
He was just unbelievable. He would have, as I mentioned to Jordan, he would have been MVP had they got through it. He reminds me a little bit of Mahomes. He's got that. He's all like, they're just unconventional. They're so good, so talented. They're such great athletes. They do things. That one run that he did, I can't remember specifically in it, but I was just amazed at how mobile this guy was. And Mahomes reminds me of that.
He's huge. I mean, guys, Gouche, again, you'll remember this. Jordan, sorry, you're a young guy. God bless you. But remember Randall Cunningham?
Oh, geez.
Another quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean, he reminds me a lot of Randall, but way better. But like, the guy could be a linebacker out there. And so if you're like, on defense and you see this guy coming downfield on you and he's juking, and he's got the moves going, I mean, what are you going to do? It's crazy. Like,
it is crazy.
And that's the way the NFL's going. I mean, quarterbacks like him and Mahomes, that's where the NFL's going. And I enjoyed that. I thought, guys, I didn't have, like I said, I bet the Eagles. I did it for fun, whatever. I got some credits on DraftKings. I said, screw it. But I had fun watching that game. Even though I lost, I thought it was fun. It really was. I thought both teams really were into it. And I really enjoy those quarterbacks. I hope that the game keeps going the way it's going right now because they're exciting.
Jordan, I know you got a question for James.
Yeah, I mean, you had something earlier about, you want to talk about the halftime show about Rihanna. Yes. And there's been a little kind of controversy back and forth with that. I mean, she kind of alluded to it at the start of her performance by rubbing her belly, but do you think she really gave the best performance she could have? And I mean, do you think the people are really happy with it?
Well, I'm going to put it this way, guys. We're all men here, and we will never know what the hell it's like to be pregnant and carry another body in our belly.
Well, I think I am right now what I'm carrying.
Yeah, but that's like a Budweiser keg or Victoria's Bitter keg right now. I can't judge. I'm sorry. I can't go off on her, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff today, and it's really pissing me off, to be honest. And you guys know, I'll be blunt. I think it sucks the way that she's being treated today. I'm a music guy. Gooch, you know me for a while. I love a wide variety of music. I love hip hop. I love reggae. I love rock. I love pop. I love jazz. I love classic, whatever. I just enjoy music. And I've always appreciated her music. I think she's kind of a throwback to when I was growing up with the hip hop there, but almost she transcends into this new generation.
I agree. Yeah.
And so I was pretty psyched. And look, I was like, this is pretty cool what she's doing. And then when she shows that she's pregnant, I'm like, holy shit. Like, I mean, that's pretty amazing that she's doing this while she's pregnant. And I got this guy, I said it on Facebook. This guy comes out, well, she should be arrested for child endangerment. Like, she's putting her baby in.
Come on.
Dude, shut the hell up. Like, really? You're just looking for something to complain about. And that's what I think this is. And we see it every year at the Super Bowl halftime show. It's just, you're always going to get these haters. I thought it was amazing. My daughter, guys, it's interesting. So my daughter is into dance. I think I've told you this before, and she does hip hop, she does jazz, and she's really into music, and God bless her. That's one of the genes I passed down, and I'm happy I did. And I was texting with her, and she's like, well, but what about the outfits on the dances? I'm like, well, yeah, they kind of look like the Oompa Oompas or whatever. But like, I didn't care. It was a good show. It was exciting. And the way they kept going up and elevating them on different stages, you know, in the air. And they're
the Super Mario stage.
There we go. And I totally think they were doing that. I think that was an influence. I think that's a great call there. But it was fun, guys. I mean, why do people have to be so goddamn critical, right? Like, who cares, man? It's music. It's fun. If you don't like the music, that's one thing. And you can say, hey, I don't like Rihanna, but you don't need to hear all the shit. Sorry. The stuff we're hearing tonight and all day today, you know, she's an insult and she was too risque. A pregnant
Can I interrupt?
She's sexy as hell. I mean, it was great.
Let me interrupt the program. Here in Australia, it's nothing but positive. I've not seen one comment. And one of the things that was amazing is a lot of these guys in Australia, I haven't looked on Facebook and all that sort of stuff, but one of the comments that comes out when you think about it, you know, about the pregnancy and all that sort of stuff, she did say she was bringing somebody before. And every artist does that. So I think it's a really cool, fresh, exciting thing. Again, as you mentioned, Jordan and I may look pregnant, but we aren't.
Me too, guys. Don't worry.
That's what entertainment's about.
Yeah.
And you're right.
And I didn't know that.
Her music
I didn't know
she performed like I loved it. I got to say, I loved it.
Yeah, I think it was amazing, guys. And, you know, it was funny. After that, one thing I always do, you know, it's not just that I'm a Patriots fan. It's that it was the time in my life where it was a lot of raw emotions. And I think I've discussed this with you, Gooch, that I lost a lot of people on 9/11.
Yes.
And every halftime show, and it's not fair to the current halftime shows, but every year since 2002, when the Patriots beat the Rams, and U2 did that halftime show right after 9/11.
Yeah.
You're talking like, what, 4 or 5 months right after 9/11 happened. And the country's still in shock. And they came out and they did that curtain and they had all the names of the victims come down. And then they were shaped like the towers. And then it came down and, you know, the place went not. And I had the pleasure of watching that on a pier in Manhattan Beach. And I was actually watching a game in a Rams bar. And I had no idea before I went there, but discovered really quickly. And I was kind of praying for my life at that point that I wasn't going to get killed because I was cheering so hard for the Patriots. And I came back in and I just looked at these guys after that halftime show. And I'm like, if the Patriots don't win the Super Bowl right now, I'll buy this whole goddamn bar a shot because they are the Patriots. It's America. And U2 just did that halftime show. It's just destiny. And then Adam Vinatieri kicks that field goal, and it was amazing. And so I've always compared it to that. And so we just happened to go into a rabbit hole of halftime shows, guys. And I'm looking at all these different halftime shows. I started to ramble here, but, you know, and we're talking about how people criticize stuff. And they always have to, you know, kind of nitpick the halftime show. And we went all the way back to like Michael Jackson. And then we were looking at like Coldplay. And we went
somebody's boob fall out?
It was YouTube, man. I just clicked on Patriots Super Bowl, and then it went. The next video became Michael Jackson in like 1987 or something. It was amazing. And I'm like, why do people get so mad about this stuff?
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, Prince was good. I like that one too.
Oh, yeah.
So many great ones.
I said that to my girlfriend. I said Purple Rain in Miami.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, listen, I'll tell you what. We spent 20 minutes on a hockey show talking only, and that's great. And it was Janet's boobie. Thanks. Here's another story about that touch.
Oh, there you go. That was a
here in Adelaide.
Yep. That was Patriots.
Well, hang on. Right now, hopefully my T-shirt doesn't fall off and you see my man boobs. All right, let's get into it. Obviously, you know.
Yeah, we don't need man boob talk right now.
You're a big Boston Bruin fan, but I'll tell you what, the happiest guy on this set right now is the guy in the corner, Jordan. Talk to me about that trade from your perspective, Jimmy.
Jordan, love it.
Well, let's hear it. Before you cut up the Tarasenko trade, Jim, let's go to Jordan. How happy are you, Jordan?
I mean, I love the deal. I mean, look at the Rangers this year. That second line has really fallen apart with Ryan Strome going to Anaheim. They really lose a lot of depth, not having Panarin on that second line with Strome, and he can break up Zibanejad and all that. But they skated with Tarasenko with Zibanejad, Panarin on the first line in the first game. I do think eventually they will kind of stagger it a little bit. But right now, it's a solid acquisition. First shot, first game, first shift, he scores a goal. And on top of that, Nico Mikkola, who the Rangers also picked up in that trade, is just going to fill a void that the Rangers have had a really hard time doing this year. They've had Ben Harper, Libor Hayek, a couple other guys have slotted into that sixth defenseman role. And I think Nico Mikkola might just kind of ease things down a little bit. I think Ben Harper is still going to be in that conversation, but I think Mikkola is kind of hold to run here. But the Rangers give up 1 out of 2 first-round picks they had this coming off season, a fourth, and Sammy Blais kind of had a hard time sticking in the lineup, so I don't think it's really that big of a loss. So I think all in all, this is a really good deal for the Rangers that I think is going to just propel them into maybe Stanley Cup territory with maybe another move.
James?
Oh, you're muted, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jamie's like that. Hey, Ben Harper. James, you're muted. Ben Harper came on my tour, one of the nicest guys on the planet, and holds an Australian passport. Maybe he can come out and play. James, what do you think of the trade?
Love it too. And not to be confused with the great musician, Ben Harper. But, you know,
Harper.
Look, yeah, I love his song. We'll get into it on another time. Listen, guys, I'm going to tell you, this trade was amazing for the Rangers. And I love, Jordan, that you brought up what else they got in the deal. Mikko is a great defenseman. He's a good, serviceable defenseman, can create some offense from the back end. I like his game. Nobody's talking about him. Everyone's obviously focused on Tarasenko, but I thought that was a little sneaky move by the Rangers to get that in the deal. I think the Rangers made out like bandits here. Look, I think Dougie Armstrong's a great GM, but I think Chris Drury took him to school here. And the Rangers are that much better right now. I mean, I watched that first game when Tarasenko was in there, and you could feel the buzz in the building, and then you feel the buzz on the ice. And, of course, what was his third shift? Tarasenko scores already. It's insane. And now you put him in Panarin. Like, I just wonder, how does Gerard Gallant break up the power plays, right? I mean, like, it's just he has so many weapons right now. It's amazing. You know, you got Adam Fox back there, and then you add this guy into the mix with Vladimir Tarasenko. Look, I've said it. Bruins fans aren't happy with me right now. I think that, and I think the Bruins know this too, and they've kind of hinted to it the last few days when we've talked to them. They got a little bit complacent. They got off to this historic start. They're like storming through the league and everything. And all of a sudden, you look behind you, you got the Rangers and the Hurricanes coming up the ladder, really pressing the Bruins right now. And I think it's going to be a fun finish. I don't think, you know, a month ago, guys, we're probably looking at saying like, well, the Bruins got the President's Trophy wrapped up. They got the Eastern Conference wrapped up. I don't think so. I think this is going to go down to the wire, and it's going to be fun. We're going to see some great hockey. And I really like the Rangers' chances right now. And, you know, one thing, Jordan, too, I want to get your take on this. Yep. And maybe it's because he's a Boston kid. I know his family. How impressed are you with Jimmy Vesey in his second tour around with the New York Rangers?
I know. I still remember when the Rangers picked him up. I think it was a Nashville pick. And the whole buzz about Jimmy Vesey coming to the Rangers, you know, they managed to steal him. And he just comes out and flops. Yeah. Yeah. And he had some good stint. He had an okay stint in Buffalo, okay stint in Toronto. But now that he's back, and I feel like maybe he has a little chip on his shoulder coming back to New York, where he's really been making a huge impact this year. I mean, the points, I'm not too worried about that just yet, but the physicality, the tenaciousness, and just everything else that he brings to the games, every team could use that.
Well, I mean, and Jordan, too, the thing is, like, and this is not an insult to him, like, he's found his spot. He's a bottom six dude, right? And like, and now you put Tarasenko in the mix on the right there. Look at the depth these guys have on the right, man. It's crazy.
Like, James, you mentioned something earlier, and I'd like to do a show before the trade deadline comes up. So put this in your back pocket, Jordan. I'd like to talk about fleecing trades because you brought that up. And let's go back in history before the trade deadline and talk about some of those trades where you're scratching your head. And you also mentioned something, James. It's not over. This isn't done. There's still, and Jordan off camera, we were talking about it. You know, Patrick Kane is still in the mix. And Jordan, if you don't mind reading off what Patrick Kane said about the
he
trade.
wanted to go to the Rangers, boys.
Yeah,
he wanted to be a Ranger.
He said it's not the happiest he's been to hear about a deal. And this is a direct quote now. If things are going to happen, that was a team I was definitely looking at. It seems like they kind of filled their void and went ahead and made a deal. So it is what it is. But there's a little caveat there because a lot of people are crunching numbers and just trying to make every single possible scenario work. And there's still a scenario the Rangers could maybe make a deal for Patrick Kane.
Yeah,
with another team retaining 25%. It's a lot of hula hoops, but there's a possibility. There's a chance.
That's Stanley Cup.
Nah, guys, if I'm the Rangers right now, you're set it forward. I just look. Let's get extra defensemen because people get hurt down the stretch or in the playoffs. As Scotty Bowman always said, you can never have too many defensemen. That's what I would be doing if I was the Rangers right now. As far as Patrick Kane goes, guys, I know that everything right now. When you mention the LA Kings is about Jacob Chikrin, and from what I'm told, it's pretty likely within the next 24 hours he becomes an LA King.
Really?
I could see Patrick Kane going to the LA Kings.
Okay, that's a really good point. I've heard rumors that Carlson may be going to Edmonton.
He is.
So
that's very true. He's very close to that.
Really?
I mean, it's a matter of the cap hit, right, Gooch? Because, Carlson's got 4 years left at 11.5, which is yikes. And you're Edmonton and you're pinching. I mean, you need to get San Jose to take half of that at least. If not, like Jordan mentioned, maybe a 13 comes in some kind of Kane trade to New York. If not, Oilers and Sharks could bring in another team to kind of eat some of that salary, probably Arizona. I think it'd be great. I think it's a great pickup for Edmonton. But if I was Edmonton, and I know they were interested in him, but I would have made, from what I hear, they didn't make good enough a push. I would have pushed harder for Chikrin because they need a guy. They need a guy that can play both ways. They've got enough offense, right? I mean, they got enough Paul Coffees, so to speak, on their defense. Yeah. They need a guy that can come back and help the goalie out.
So listen, the reason why I brought that up, guys, is that Chikrin probably is going to be off the market. Carlson being moved. There's a lot of teams that are in that fringe area that need some solid defense. And, those are two quality guys that certainly can help you. I know Derek Luck is saying not a chance. Derek, got to get you on the show. We got to talk a little bit about the Toronto Maple Leafs and where they're at right at this moment. And again, I love when you put these things out there. Carlson to Edmonton, how they cannot afford it. I think you mean that they can't afford it. And then your dad comes in, John says, Patrick Kane to Edmonton would be a very interesting. Again, the one thing that we can talk about it, a lot of fans do this, James and Jordan. We just throw a bunch of names out,
right,
and nobody really does the work to figure out how the heck they can put it in Derek Luck. And the Leafs are going after Carl Brewer. But it is, we all think, Winnipeg, for example, they're all thinking all these names, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves. They also realize, it's minus 40 there. And most importantly, it's not a destination that's easy for a general manager to get somebody to buy in. So there's a lot of other factors.
Yep. And guys, one thing I'd put out there too, you mentioned the weather there, and it just made me think right away to a team that I hear is kind of under the radar right now. But I mean, really, if you think about it, Bill Zito, the GM of the Florida Panthers, guys, these guys were President's Trophy winners a year ago, and they are very much in danger of missing the playoffs, just like the Colorado Avalanche are, the defending Stanley champions. But that's more because of injuries.
Injuries, yeah.
The Panthers are in danger of missing the playoffs because of bad management and underachieving. You wonder, I mean, there's no state income tax there. You got a guy that's got some term like Erik Karlsson. And if you could get San Jose to eat anything there, do they dive into the Erik Karlsson sweepstakes? Because I think it's do or die for the Panthers right now in terms of that market. And Gooch, you know this. You've been around the NHL long enough and you've been down the floor. I mean, it's not a great hockey market, man. And it's hard to draw fans. And they built a buzz last year, and that buzz has gone right down the tubes this year. They need to make a splash right now. And I find it interesting that a lot of my colleagues right now, and I'm going to write about this soon, nobody's talking about the Panthers. I mean, they need to do something big or they're screwed. Not just in this season, but going forward as an organization, as a franchise, making money where they are.
Hey, you know what? I really like this comment from Derek Luck. I want to touch upon it just before we move on. Everybody wants to go to Edmonton because of McDavid. Let me ask you this question, guys. Jordan, I'll go to you first because we've talked about this before. The Edmonton Oilers, both Draisaitl and McDavid came out a couple of years ago and said, this is our year. This is our chance. We need to move forward. And it just seems, now with Evander Kane back in the lineup, this team is poised to maybe do some damage, but there are some missing pieces. Is Derek Luck right that you mentioned Florida, where it's in a little bit of a conundrum right now, because if they don't do something, that team is not strong enough, I think, even if they do make it to the playoffs, to go very deep. Mm-hmm. Is it a McDavid factor right now? McDavid had said it's now. We need to win now, and I think that's really true in Edmonton. Jordan.
Yeah, and I think people just want to play with good players. They want to play on good teams, and I think Connor McDavid is just going to catch the eye of, almost anyone in the league. Any chance they get to play with someone of that talent, I think you jump on it any chance you get. So I do think a lot of people are probably preferring to go to Edmonton right now. But Jimmy made a great point about the weather in some of these places, especially in a place like Edmonton where winters can get brutal. I just don't see a lot of, maybe American players, maybe even considering just coming up to a place like Edmonton. But at the end of the day, Connor McDavid it might negate some of that, but it's be a really tough judgment call for these guys.
James?
Yeah, I agree with everything Jordan just said there, guys. And the thing is, right now, when we look back and we're just looking specifically at Karlsson, not factoring in all those other situations we're talking about or all the other effects, is that cap it. And you're Mike Greer, the San Jose Sharks GM right now, and you're trying to go into a rebuild, right? But even in a rebuild, guys, when you really think about it with the salary cap, and by the way, people keep saying, the cap's going up. The cap's not going up more than $1 million. Let's get that out there. I'm sick and tired of people saying, things are going to be great and the cap's going to be awesome. And the cap's not going up more than $1 million next year. And nobody's talking about this right now, is that the fact that Bally's Sports Network in the United States, who I believe is in 5 different NHL markets, and those 5 NHL teams that's their network that they broadcast their home games on, a lot of their away games, with the exception of the TNT and the ESPN jumping in here and there. They're going belly up as we speak. It will be announced by Friday. Where are these teams going for their TV home now?
Yeah, good point.
Furthermore, that's part of HRR. That's part of the salary cap. So you're telling me right now that all of a sudden 5 teams may have to settle for less money when it comes to a TV contract?
Yeah.
That the salary cap is going to skyrocket within the next few years? Sorry, I ain't buying it. It's a smokescreen. And it's funny how Gary Bettman walked that back after he said in October that it was going up like $4 to $6 million. He walked it back to $1 million already. That's a thing to watch right now. And I think it's a thing to watch in his deadline. Teams are probably aware of that. And they're probably saying, okay, if you're San Jose and I'm Mike Greer, well, the cap's not going up that much. How much can I eat? And if you're the acquiring team for Karlsson, how much can I eat? Yeah. There's so many factors going on right now. And guys, I feel like, the salary cap is something that's not being mentioned enough when we're heading into this trade deadline, because it's not going where everybody has said it was going to go. And that it has a stranglehold on the deadline right now.
And let's not forget, there has been an announcement that the U.S. market's dropped quite drastically, like a 22%
Very good point.
drop off. Yeah. What's going to do there? And Lucky comes out and says they're going to DAZN. No idea what that is, but hey.
The zone.
Is that like it's how or something?
It's how we watch the NFL in Canada. They have like MLB Game Pass. They do fights. And
okay, gotcha.
I'll tell you what, I got to do a shout out to ESPN, doing a great job here in Australia. I can see every game. I can go back and do replays. There was a lot of criticism for the NHL pulling out, so I get to see every game. So
do you do Hulu, Gouche?
Do I do what?
Do you have a Hulu subscription? Because that's what I use here.
Did you say Hulu?
Yeah, HULU.
I don't, but I.
Man. You know what it is, Jordan, right?
Oh yeah, it's Netflix pretty much.
Yeah, it's great, but you can watch every NHL game there for $8.99 a month.
All right, well, we got to take a peek at that. All right, I know we've gone all over the map here. I want to get back to some things that. No, it's been fantastic, James. Every time we get you on, we just
I love
having you here to talk about it. Sidney Crosby receives his first ever game misconduct, chirping the refs. Deserved?
Well, deserved, yes, but I don't blame him. And I wouldn't blame him if I had to face off against Trevor Zegras, because I'd be a lot worse than Crosby with what I do to Trevor Zegras. He is a little prick, and he's got a beating coming to him, guys. I'm telling you, I'm talking to a lot of NHL players right now. You know, the whole controversy a few weeks back when people are saying maybe he mentioned another player's passing dad. He referenced his dad that had passed to insult him. I've heard that he chirps people's wives with sexual innuendo. I mean, Gouche, you play pro hockey, you could probably tell it better than me, but there's lines that you don't cross. And I'm hearing that Trevor Zegras crosses that line every game, and a lot of people in the NHL right now want to take his head off.
Well, Derek, thanks for reminding me that I'm in Australia. He keeps bugging me about how many times I am in Australia. I can't change that. You know what? I think it's right when a guy chirps, if he's going to have to pay the price. And so let's see what Zegras does. Great hockey player, but I think he'll be put into his place. And I think when it goes back to Crosby, a lot of people give him a bad rap sometimes. They think he's a whiner and all that sort of stuff. But I'll tell you what Sidney Crosby's done for this game is all, I would say, up there with what Gretzky's done.
Yep.
I know McDavid's coming to give him a push, but what Sidney Crosby has done for this game and how good he's playing at his age right now, I think he deserves a little bit more.
You can relate to this, man, because, and you know the man, Wayne Gretzky, I mean, he has to be top 3 chirpers of referees in the history of the NHL. I mean, this guy bitched.
Whiner, they said. He kept calling him a whiner.
Yeah. I mean, this guy whined nonstop, but he's Wayne Gretzky. So people kind of say they turn a blind eye. Oh, whatever. He's Wayne Gretzky. He's God. Dude, this guy complained about everything. So I laugh at the people that just look at Crosby and say, oh, he doesn't whine. He's a little baby. Blah, blah, blah. Did you ever really pay attention to Wayne Gretzky?
No, but
maybe one of the biggest whiners ever, too.
But don't forget, too, that those type of players, they're getting clutched and grabbed and hit and spit at. So I got to feel for those guys because we always look at – sorry?
I'm saying who's going to have that patience? They're human beings.
God,
like sooner or later, that's going to get to you. You have to say something. So I'm totally fine with the way he's handling it.
All right, final part on this one, Jordan. You got to put it up. James, throw one at Derek on this one. Zegras is a stud. Stop whining. Barnaby and Avery, well, he's right there. Avery was the worst of them. You can throw Marchman in there a little bit with the lick, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Avery for sure. Barnaby, I think he was borderline. I don't think he was that bad. But yeah, Avery was a guy that oh man.
He's borderline. Hey, listen, before we get going, I just want to.
That's the way it was.
John, there's a couple of questions that come from people. John, who's on the move in Montreal? I know how close you are there. Heard Josh Anderson wasn't available. Anything you can bring us up to speed on that?
No, he's available. Very available. Josh Anderson available. I mean, you could go through the roster right now and everybody's available, but I don't know if you guys have noticed that like the Montreal Canadiens are like, and again, I'm showing my age here, but it was kind of before my time. They're the TV show MASH right now. I mean, they're a MASH unit. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's injured. And, Kent Hughes is looking like I got all these guys that are free agents that I could get some picks for and stockpile for the draft and keep building towards the future. And these guys are on the IR. What am I supposed to do? So Josh Anderson is not on the IR. He's one of the healthy guys right now, and that's made him that much more available. He is definitely, I think, going to be moved before the trade deadline.
All right, last one on this one is obviously Chris Patterson's coming up and saying, what do you think the Leafs need to go deep this year? Team's pretty soft. I know Derek will throw in on this one. Jordan, you can throw in. I want to hear from you first, James. What do the Leafs need to be so-called not so soft?
Well, I just said it. They don't need to play the Bruins. Sorry, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Bruins reporter, man. I mean, I grew up a Red Sox fan, and the Yankees were our daddy, as Pedro Martinez put it so eloquently. And the Bruins are the Maple Leafs' daddy. They do not need to. If they can somehow avoid playing the Bruins in one of the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, I think the Leafs could win the Stanley Cup. But that's highly unlikely because they're probably going to have to play the Bruins the way the playoff setup is.
Hey, great comment, Jordan. They need Anderson.
Yeah,
I would love to see him in a Toronto Maple Leaf uniform.
I have seen a lot of Leaf fans or a lot of people claiming the Leafs are very close to Timo Meier as well.
That would be huge.
I don't know how much it helps them though. How much would it really benefit that team?
Well, I mean, Jordan, who do they have that's a power? Sorry, Josh Anderson's great, good, solid. You could call him a power forward, but when you want to talk like today's power forward, and we're thinking back to like the guys we knew growing up, like Shanahan and those guys. Look, Timo Meier is a beast, man. If the Leafs got Timo Meier, I think they could beat the Bruins.
Wow.
I said that decor, and I'm not comfortable with that decor. I really think that they should be going after D-man.
Yeah, well, I like the goalie though. I think Samsonov is not getting enough respect, man.
Yeah,
Ilya Samsonov has had a fabulous year. He's been a solid goalie. I have faith in him. If they could get a power forward like a Timo Meier and somebody that can plow through a defense like that and go to the net, I think they're in good shape.
Hey, we're hearing it from Lucky. The first time, well, maybe that's probably not the first time. They need grit. You know what they need? They need truculence. They need truculence.
Berkey. They need Brian Burke back. Enough of Kyle Dubas.
All right, guys, let's move on to final part. Of course, when we have James Murphy, we can't not talk about these things. Jordan, take it away.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Gooch.
Well, we're going to talk about the Bruins. Who are the Bruins in on the trade market? Who can they truly look, or do they do? Maybe this one, Jordan, do they even do anything because of the fact that they are sitting in a position? I know that the Rangers have made a move. So do you counter that with something? What do you guys think? I think there's going to be a really healthy trade deadline. I think there's going to be a lot of things going on.
Yeah, and I mean, Joey mentioned earlier with the Bruins probably going to get Jacob, or they were in on Jacob Chychrun. You had a blog, I think, it might have been last week, that they would have had to move of roster D. Was that really kind of the caveat there? Why the Kings are very close to getting Chychrun, like you also said?
Well, I think the bigger caveat in terms of the Bruins acquiring Chychrun and being in that situation right now more than the Kings is that, and it's ironic, and I'm writing about this right before I got on with you guys, is that Jake DeBrusk, I mean, a year ago right now, Jake Chychrun might be a Bruin, and Jake DeBrusk might be an Arizona Coyote, because Jake DeBrusk wanted out of Boston, remember? Yep. And instead of trading him, we get to trade deadline day, and I'm there in Montreal, and they announce that they've signed him to an extension. Like, what? But now this guy has become a stud for them, and they're missing him huge right now in the power play. They're missing a lot of elements of his game while he's out, and he's not going to play again for the Bruins when they take on the Dallas Stars in Dallas tomorrow. And I'm told that that's a stumbling block. The Arizona Coyotes really like Jake DeBrusk, and I just think the irony is funny. Like, well, if they liked him a year ago, this trade's done. So I think that's a stumbling block right there. And, you know, they're going to have to move defensemen, maybe a Grzelcyk, maybe a Carlo, to make that happen, but they are in on Chychrun. They're in on a lot of other things as well. I think that Luke Schenn makes a lot of sense for the Bruins, but he's more of a depth guy. We're not even close in the league of Chychrun. But they've been in on things, guys. They have. I know for a fact that they really wanted Bo Horvat, not just for now and to compete for the cup, but guys, let's not forget, we are quite possibly in the last years of David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron. What are the Bruins looking like up the middle after that? You making Charlie Coley your number one center? Are you making Pavel Zacha your number one center? I'm sorry. I don't think those guys are number one centers in the NHL. I think they're very great players where they're positioned right now, but they are not number one centers. So the Bruins are in a conundrum where Don Sweeney, when he makes a deal right now, it really has to be for the now and the future. And that's why I don't think you're going to see them get a lot of rentals, though I still don't rule them out on Patrick Kane, but I think Don Sweeney's preference is to get somebody that he can depend on now and going further.
Yeah. All right. Listen, I know we got to wrap up. I know Jordan's got another show. James, I can't thank you enough. I know you're going to be back on us next week. There are a couple of really quick snippets. Really, who's the second goaltender for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Chris Patterson asks. I think Samsonov's the guy. I think he's going to go through as a starter, and then that'll leave our buddy obviously waiting for his time to get back in net. It's only my thought. Steve Meisner, Sabres have cap space, make some moves. We will be talking about that next week a little bit. So quickly,
Don't count them out on
number
Chikrin, guys. Don't count them out on Chikrin. Watch the Sabres.
Really?
Be careful. Watch them.
Okay, Jordan, second goal. Who's going to be the starting goaltender for the Maple Leafs going down the stretch?
Samsonov.
Jordan,
No question.
James.
Samsonov. No question.
All right. James, always a pleasure. Thank you, buddy. Look forward to chatting with you. Can't wait to get back to, obviously, I'm actually watching a bunch of shows about Boston right now. There's the Boston Marathon, that whole thing. I was bored at night watching, man.
Guys, we were saying that. I actually took my girlfriends from Springfield, Mass, Western Mass, and I'm living now back near Boston. And Watertown is where, they found the guy in the boat,
Sure.
Where they had the shootout. And we drove right through those neighborhoods today. That's weird you brought that up.
Terrible. Yeah. All right. See you, James. Thanks, buddy.
Have a good one.
Jimmy.
Yeah. He's great. I love having him on.
Always love having.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Always love having Jimmy on. It's always a great conversation. I mean, even today, I mean, all the scoops he had. King is very close to getting Chychrun, and actually, the news came out today that Chychrun is going to be sitting out until a trade is going to be done. So, things are getting really exciting, and I'm always excited whenever Jimmy leaves here.
It's always great to have Derek throwing up there too, getting in. And Derek, we got to get you on and talk about your Leafs as they get ready for trade deadline. Is anything going to happen? Jordan, always a pleasure. Thank you. We went a little bit longer, but anytime you have, we could have gone on for hours.
Oh, yeah.
He's got so much more in him. So I look forward to having him back next Monday. You have a great next show, buddy. And I will see you next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I start up my Gouche Live in minute 29. I'm going to start that up starting tomorrow. So make sure you stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan LaRoche, the producer. All right. Thank you for spending time with us. I know we went through a lot of stuff really quickly. Always great to have James Murphy on. But I also want to thank Derek Luck, Steve Meisner, Chris Patterson. Thank you guys for being a part. Of course, Robert Wine, you're always there for us. Please send in some comments anytime you want to know something about the NHL. And of course, as this trade deadline is getting closer, we're going to do some fun things. We're going to talk about some of the fleecings that have gone on and where people are going to end up and who needs it the most. All right. Thank you for joining us here at the Gouche Live in Australia. That's for you, buddy. And of course, we will be back to you next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.
You've been listening to Gouche Live with your host, Kerry Goulet, better known as The Gooch, brought to you by the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated.